Narcissists and Other Difficult People. Unit 4, Lesson 4. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conflict Resolution and Peacemaking, the class that teaches you how to manage interpersonal conflict and drama for yourself and others. I'm your instructor, David Lowry. Welcome to this fourth lesson on the peacemaker's approach to difficult people. In this lesson, we conclude our discussion about the various types of difficult people. Let's begin with narcissism. According to the Mayo Clinic, narcissism is a personality disorder where people have an inflated sense of their importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. The prototypical grandiose narcissist is characterized by arrogance, superiority, vanity, entitlement, exploitativeness, exhibition, and the incessant need for acclaim from others. However, behind this mask of extreme confidence lies a fragile self esteem vulnerable to the slightest criticism. However, as Craig Malkin reminds us in his book Rethinking Narcissism, we must remember that all of us fall somewhere between utter selflessness and grandiosity. A healthy degree of narcissism is essential for a strong sense of self. There's a difference between healthy self love and narcissism. Healthy people in healthy relationships give as much as they take. They live in interdependency instead of emotional dependency. They respect the free will of others and show empathy for themselves and others. Thus far, we provided an overview of bullies, verbal abusers, passive aggressive individuals, and narcissists. Here are a few other categories worthy of a somewhat briefer discussion. Perfectionist. According to Yang and Stober, perfectionism is a personality disposition characterized by striving for flawlessness and exceedingly high personal standards, accompanied by overly critical self evaluations and concerns about others' self evaluations. Perfectionism may be healthy or maladaptive. An average perfectionist finds a certain amount of satisfaction in what they do, while the maladaptive one cannot. The desire to set and accomplish lofty goals is considered desirable and a healthy form of perfectionism. However, it can become maladaptive when people set goals that are too high, unrealistic, or an abstraction that is impossible to obtain. There is a difference between wanting to excel and the desire to be perfect. Conflict is the outcome when people set or impose impossibly high standards. Other outcomes include procrastination and negative feelings of self worth because one is never good enough to meet these high standards. Pessimist. Almost all of us will feel less than optimistic about things from time to time. However, pessimism is a continual mindset where one believes that situations and things will never improve. It's a psychological concept related to hopelessness. As a concept, hopelessness is believed to be related to negative feelings about the future. In many people, hopelessness is related to depression. Pessimists tend to reject ideas out of hand. When they have power, they often say no and block progress. Pessimism negatively contributes to a variety of problems. First, the idea that things will never improve causes people to stop trying. In relational approaches, all participants must be willing to work together to make things better. Pessimism is often directed at individuals in a conflict, which causes anger, negative feelings, and expectations between people. As a mindset, hopelessness diminishes the positivity and goodwill of outcomes. Pessimism in others isn't easy to counteract. It resists encouragement to think positively. When things don't work out as many would like, the pessimist can always say, "I told you that would happen." When peacemakers encounter pessimism, they must remember not to take things personally. The peacemaker needs to remain problem focused and show no reactivity to negative remarks. Where possible, the peacemaker might reframe comments and detoxify them from negativity and reactivity. Finally, the peacemaker must not let go of reasonable solutions in favor of perfect ones. Remember, no matter what resolution may be agreed upon, the pessimist will likely feel less than satisfied even when an objectively good decision emerges. Know it alls. Most people will sometimes claim to know more about a subject than is correct. However, this often turns out to be a chronic condition for the know it all. Know it alls are related to the verbal abuser discussed earlier. They counter everything with another point of view and can be very contentious and argumentative. From a psychological point of view, it is related to what Alfred Adler describes as a superiority complex. Some qualities exhibited by people like this are a high evaluation of their self worth, boastful claims that can't be backed up, an overly high opinion of oneself, and an unwillingness to listen to others. When dealing with a know it all, remember to avoid taking remarks personally and be careful about showing reactivity to what they say. If it is any help, remember that the great psychologist Alfred Adler believed that underneath all of the superiority complexes is an inferiority complex, one-upping and belittling. Some people try to impress others by claiming their knowledge and experiences are superior to others. For instance, they will boast about their trips to Europe if you talk about going to the California coast. If you brag about your kids, they discuss their children who are in law school. This is known as one-upping. From a peacemaker point of view, this behavior represents a competitive instead of a cooperative style. The goal of working with these people is moving them towards cooperative approaches that demonstrate respect and empathy for others. The peacemaker can facilitate this by showing equal respect for the things each of them says. This takes the reward for one-upping away since they desire to be perceived as superior. General attacking behaviors. Now that we've discussed a variety of difficult people, the last category we will discuss is general attacking behaviors. Earlier, we discussed the slippery slope of conflict. Here, we mentioned that in conflict situations, most people rely on attacking or retreating behaviors, both of which are dysfunctional. The attacking actions listed here are usually the result of people who speak before they think. Their instinctive reaction to stress is to come out swinging. Here are a few of them: insults and complaints. Instead of focusing on the problem at hand, these people throw people off guard by making personal remarks that have little to do with matters under discussion. Known as ad hominem remarks, their purpose is to derail situations by causing interpersonal turmoil and uproar. They feel successful when they attack and keep people from solving problems. The way one should handle this is to refuse to take the bait and continue focusing on the issue at hand. Explosive remarks. Like ad hominem remarks, some people make outrageous remarks designed to catch people by surprise. For instance, a friend of mine recounted how at his mother's funeral, a person remarked how unkind she could be when he spoke with her. Whether these remarks result from speaking before thinking, lacking emotional intelligence, or are intentionally designed to cause pain, their impact is all the same. They generate anger and turmoil. In these situations, denying the person who makes the remark an emotional payoff is essential. The best way to do this is to either ignore the comments or detoxify them using a reflective reframe. Bossy, angry, and reactive people. These people use shows of anger and hostility as tools for pushing people away. Through overt displays of hostile speech and nonverbal gestures, they indicate a total lack of willingness to cooperate or work with others. Unless one feels threatened, one should respond using a soft voice and detoxifying reframes. They should show no reactivity to loud and abusive remarks. Of course, other forms of difficult people could be mentioned. We have not discussed sociopaths, psychopaths, or any number of other antisocial behaviors, nor have we discussed compulsive liars and those who cannot be trusted to keep their agreements. However, in each of the instances above, the attacking behaviors discourage communication or display superiority. To be entirely successful, each attacking behavior requires a psychological payoff. That's the satisfying emotional reward one receives for their action. For instance, after an attacking behavior is made, the emotional payoff may be the feeling of superiority one has when one perceives their ability to control the fear, anger, and reactive responses of others. This cycle of attacking behavior, feeling in control over the other's reactivity, and satisfying psychological reinforcement all provide the perpetrator with a form of behavioral reinforcement, which encourages the dysfunctional cycle to continue. Eliminate the payoff. When peacemakers encounter attack situations like these, the most important thing they can do is strategically break the cycle by withholding any form of psychological payoff. Naturally, someone who feels threatened or feels physical harm should take care of their safety first. Leaving the scene may provide a psychological payoff, but remaining safe is more important than worrying about the negative reward. However, for most of the behaviors mentioned above, the best course of action is to show no emotional reactivity or give any indication that one has noticed, much less taken any of the things that have been said personally. Any following statements made by the peacemaker should seem as though they did not even hear any attacking comments. Don't play the psychologist. Thus far in this series of lessons, we have acquainted you with various types of difficult people. We intend to provide a basic understanding and help you recognize various cognitive dysfunctions. Having said this, it is not our intention to encourage anyone to try and diagnose a personality disorder, much less offer therapy. It's one thing to recognize a bully, and entirely another matter to diagnose the precise causes and treatments of this behavior. However, it can be helpful to be aware of problems that may exceed our ability to manage effectively. Fortunately, the things we have discussed afflict only a small portion of the population as a severe dysfunction. Apply the knowledge you have learned in these lessons to help you understand and solve your problems. We must remember that abuse takes a toll on the abuser and the victim. As peacemakers, we can let people know when we believe they vary from the norm and urge them to seek professional help if we think they need it. We can make recommendations for professionals and even offer to accompany them on their first appointments. With proper guidance, the person we see today can transform tomorrow. Today's lesson discussed narcissism and difficult people such as pessimists, perfectionists, and know-it-alls. We concluded our discussion by examining general attacking behaviors. The key to working with all of these people is to refuse to take anything personally and monitor reactivity so they do not receive an emotional payoff. In our next lesson, we will discuss general principles that can be helpful when working with difficult people. Thank you for listening. We encourage you to download a copy of today's script so that you might complete a short quiz over the podcast.